All right, well, welcome everybody to Stock Analysis Friday. It's great to have you here. We'll get started in about 2 minutes. All right, let's just do a quick audio check and make sure you guys can hear me out there. And looks like we'll get started in about a minute or so. All right, let's get started. I don't know if the countdown button was working exactly correctly, but let's make sure you can hear me okay before we start going. All right, testing, testing. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me okay. Just give it a minute. While I'm waiting for everybody, let me just go through the administrative items we have to go through here. First thing I have to go over, of course, are the risks involved in trading. Like I always say, without that risk, there is no opportunity. So the two really go hand in hand. What we want you to do is be sure you're trading with risk capital and know that when we trade the markets, we're always trading in a realm of probability. Nothing's certain, nothing's guaranteed. So please be sure before taking any trades we talk about today, you run those past your money manager or financial advisor to make sure those are suitable for you. And of course, we want you to also use risk control on each and every trade. And we have a book on that called The Money Management for Traders, second book in from the right, brand new book, came out this year. And it really is a concise, what you need to know type of book on risk control. There's formulas in there to calculate your trade size, also known in the industry as your position size. And we talk about diversification and we talk about drawdowns and things like that. So definitely check that book out. Easy read, not expensive, and it's concise. We are also working on our new book, The Art of Trading, second edition. So that's coming out as well in 2023, probably spring to summer. And then we have a variety of other books on risk control as well. Now, when we look at charts, we're going to be looking at charts using software that I basically created over the last 30 years of trading the markets. And it consists of charting software, scanners, and risk control software. So when we look at charts, you're going to see the charting software today. And I will, of course, go over that and tell you what that exactly means when we're looking at each chart. And then finally, like, subscribe, and share with this as many people as possible. We always like to get feedback and get people here so we can actually take a look at some stocks and so forth. And then finally, thank you for attending. We always appreciate everybody being here. All right, let's get out of here. A couple things I want to go over first. First thing, really quickly, if you're new here, check it out. You're looking at 3 charts of the same market. That's the way we analyze that. It's called multiple time frame analysis. And we have a whole course on how to set your layout up like this. We use NinjaTrader, but you know, we have a lot of people using other platforms, so it really doesn't matter. We have a 60-minute chart here on the far left, all right, and that's your short-term analysis. We have the daily chart here in the center, your intermediate trend, and then the weekly chart here for your long-term trend. And again, it's all the same symbol. We happen to be looking at the ETF for gold, which is GLD. And then here at the bottom, we have our indicators. This is the OWL, and then we have the PTF, and we also have the Trendline Master and the ERI, which measures fear and greed. And then on the actual charts itself, you can see pyramids, both up and down, and that's part of the ART trading system. And so what we use those for is to identify fractals in the market, as well as entries and exits. All right, so let me first start off by looking at gold. Now, what I'd like you to do is go ahead and type in any symbols you want me to look for in caps in the comments area, and we'll get to those by the end of the session. If we have time at the end, I may look at some intraday charts like the S&P E-mini or something like that, the NASDAQ, on very short day trading time frames. That's always fun to end it that way. But let's see how it goes here, okay? So gold is the first one, and the reason I'm starting off with gold is that we were waiting and waiting for a buy, and we have it now. So here's what I think is going on with this. On the weekly chart on the far right, in terms of the Elliott wave, if you're into Elliott wave, great. If you're not, you can actually see a little bit of a different approach here. So we have a wave 3. We had an A, B, C correction. So we have wave 4, I believe, in place. And now we're looking for this thing to go into the target zone up here for wave 5. So our target for gold is between $201 roughly all the way up to $233. That's the target zone. And we think we've begun that move off the bottom. So if we look at the daily chart here in the center, we've got the bottom here. We got a nice pyramid trading point entry here. And we have an owl here. Nothing red down here, green, green. So it looks like to us a go. And I put a buy on this. So this is one I really like for today. I would put your stop as low as possible. Now, here's an issue, okay? You probably want to put your stop at least below the inflection point. We haven't had a significant pullback yet, and you'll probably get it. So you want to put that stop at least enough room for this thing to retrace off its current high before it probably resumes to the upside. So I think we're probably going to get close to some type of retracement. We've got bearish divergence here on the 60. So we got a 3, 4, probably a 5 underlying structure on this. So we're due for a pullback, I would say. So if you wanted to wait for the pullback to go in, you can certainly do that. But you could also go in now and put your stop at the very bottom. So that's one I wanted to cover. The other one I wanted to take a look at that I get asked a lot about is silver. And on silver, this is a little bit different story. Yes, I like it in terms of eventuality to be long on this, but I have to wait until we get either a yellow or a green down here on this indicator. So this indicator is indicating that this bottom is not the bottom, that all we're seeing is a possible retracement off the bottom. So we got to hold back on that for right now. All right, TLT, which is the ETF for bonds, is another one that I like to look at here. And again, I think bonds will eventually be a great buy. It is coming off a bottom now, but according to our system that I use here, this bottom is not the final bottom. So like silver, this appears to be a retracement in a trend that should head back down. So I'm not ready to go long in this one yet, but we're going to keep an eye on it. I think the next bottom, it's going to be looking really good for a good buy. All right, so crypto, stay away from. Crypto markets having its own problems these days. USO, let's take a look at that. This is the ETF for oil. And here we have a move off oil on the bottom. Let's open up that weekly chart. You can see just how much oil has come down. And now it is come up a little bit. Okay, a little bit of movement to the upside. Taking a breather right now. This still could be a significant bottom here. So we're kind of watching that to see if that's the case. And it looks like it certainly could be. So what do we do with this? Well, at this particular point here, I would wait until this gets a little bit more bullish here on the daily chart. And so we're kind of hanging tight on that at this point. If you're already in it, put your stop as far down as you can, which would be this bottom right where my arrow is right there. So definitely check that out. All right, so remember, type your symbols in caps, and I will get to those here. If I missed any, just let me know, and I will certainly come back to it. So I do like gold. I think that one seems to be one of the best ones for right now. I think TLT is still coming down. I would hold off on that, of course. Now, let's see what else we got here. Anybody else have some you want me to look up here? Okay, I don't see anything in the chat area. All right, so let's go ahead and go over and take a look at the intraday time frames on the MES. So this is the micro E-mini. You can see it slammed down early in the morning, and now it's kind of recovered. But still, according to the 5-minute time frame, which is our day trading time frame, looks like we're going to head on back down at some point. So it looks like the trend this morning is not done to the downside. Looks like we're going to have a little bit more pressure on the downside intraday. All right, so let me see what we got. I think some symbols are coming in now, so let me take a look here. All right, GFI for Kevin, GFI. Let's take a look. All right, Kevin, definitely bullish right now, okay? So that's coming off a nice little reach up off a bottom. And let's take a look and see what the overall situation is. What a messy market, right? So the only target I see on this, Kevin, that I can make sense of right here is this high here. So we're looking probably around 18 bucks and we're at 10 bucks. That's not a bad return. Okay, not a bad return. This is not quite green, but close to going green. Your problem you're going to have on this stock is where the hell do you put your stop? Okay? Because you could put it here. No question about that. But if you get a normal retracement, you're going to get stopped out. It'd be nice to put it down here. So it would have been nice to go long as soon as this went green up in here. Then you'd have a better trade size on that. So that's the tricky part about this one. All right, where do you put your stop? And the 60-minute chart is not helping us that much either at this particular point. So I like it, but you know, in order to take this trade, you got to put your stop about down around $7.50. So you're talking about 30% away from the current prices. So that's the only issue I see with that. Other than that, all right, it's looking pretty good. All right, Stuart's got a couple here. CE, let's take a look at that one first. All right, so CE is one of these that's bouncing off the bottom. Seems like a good long trade, but according to our system, it's not, okay? We have a red PTF here, all right, indicating that any movement up so far is just a bounce in a downtrend that's not over. So I think this will continue. It's still bullish on the 60-minute chart, and it's been a nice bounce, all right? But if you look at the point of inflection, all right, it's getting fairly close to a point of inflection where we could see a reversal. And according to this one indicator here, that's what we're going to have. So looks like more lows coming on CE, Stuart. Unfortunately, I don't know if you're long or not on that or just considering it. Okay, UAAA is the next one. And on this one, let's see what we got. This one's conceivably better, okay? So UAAA, nice move up off the bottom. We've got green here, green, green, no red that I see. Doesn't mean you might get a pullback, but at least with this one, it looks like we may have a bottom in here. We have bullish divergence here, lower low here, lower low here. Momentum was not as low. Again, this is the owl that measures momentum. And if we take a look at the weekly chart here, we can see a fairly broad-based, fairly large pullback off this big move up. Now, this is not a wave 4, all right? This looks like a 3, but this retracement was way too deep for a wave 4. So it's probably a 1 and a 2. And we may be starting to get off into to the wave 3, which is the biggest one. But still a little too early to say at this point. We have to take out this pyramid here, and this needs to go green before we kind of get too excited that we are in the next major move up. For an early entry, you certainly could have taken this off the daily chart. Now, same problem as before. We've had this big move up. If this is a bottom, then you can expect a retracement at least to here. And you know, when you get a first move up off the bottom, it's also possible to have it retrace 100% and form a double bottom. So that stop's got to be very carefully placed. All right, now with the pyramids here, if you were able to get in here and you wanted to put your stop here and get taken out here with a profit and wait for it to come back down and get back in, you could do that, okay? But if you want to try to get as much out of this position as possible and let it run, you got to have that stop far away. So UAA is a good one. I like it. Problem is stop loss placement, and to put it at the bottom is about a 40%. You have to put your stop way at the bottom at 40% under. So that is the problem. Such a low trade size. All right, let's keep going. Okay, TA. Let's take a look at that one. All right. Ooh, this one's not too bad either. Okay. Nice move off here. Bullish divergence. Bullish, bullish. Gap up on the 60. You can see the gap here. So that's not too bad. This is still a little bearish over here with an active pyramid, but you're not going to wait for that to be taken out. So let's just see what we got cooking here. Well, you got a retracement all the way down to the beginning. So maybe your double bottom on this one is here. All right. I kind of like it. All right. I would take the flyer on this. All right. Oh, I'm going to write this one down. OKTA as one that I think is good for you. I think you want to put your stop below the pyramid here at the very least, and maybe below the bottom at best. So you got two parts here. The only problem you have here, okay, is that you're getting in really early. So if this thing goes, you're going to make a fortune. But also, too, if this is a false breakout and we come back down, you could get stopped out. So please use a stop. So like all trading, you know, nothing's guaranteed in 100%. And when you take an early entry, that's the risk you take, okay? But this one looks pretty good. You've got a tremendous pullback on this. And I would take that one. That one looks pretty good. OKTA. All right, now ROKU, ROKU. All right, let's take a look at that one. All right. Stuart, I like the fact that you're looking at these coming off big bottoms. Now look at this thing. Look at the weekly chart. We're traced 100% just about. So now it's starting to bottom. Okay, look at the bullish quadruple triple divergence. Look at that. All right. Again, this one looks good. I probably like this one better than OKTA, and this is so far the winner for today. This and gold are our winners for today. Okay, this looks really good. You're getting in so early that the stop can go right at the bottom, and just use risk control, okay? And take the flyer on this one. So ROKU looks good. All right, let's move on. Paul, Netflix at NFLX. Give that a second to load. All right, so this one, again, this is one of these that, you know, looks like it'd be real good for a long trade, except for a couple indicators here indicating that we have problems with the long trade. All right, now short term, This is green, this is green. So this is still retracing. This is still going up, but it should give way to more selling. So unlike the others we looked at, we don't think we have a bottom in. Now, how far up is this going to go? Well, we could just draw a quick fib on this. And let's just see kind of where we're at here. Okay, so let's just see where this thing could end up here. And it looks like right around there. Okay, so we're pretty close to the target. Let me just see if I can isolate that a little better. And maybe bring this down here. Let's see, 1, 2. No, I had it right. 1, 2. Okay, so that's about it right there. So I would say, you know, if you're going to take a short-term trade on this, you don't have much room. 352 to 476. Now it gets up here, that's nice, but you know, it could come here and fall back to the downside, and we're close to going red here. So I probably wouldn't trade this to the long side, but I can tell you what I would do. If it gets into this area here, I would look for a short trade. And your target would be at least down here based off these indicators here. And if you drew the fib retracements, even deeper. Okay, so there you have it. All right, AU for Frank. All right, so the markets today are down. At least the Dow is 205. Nasdaq's down about 161. So everything's pretty much fallen a little bit today. Okay, so here's AU, and he wants to know where to put a stop. Okay, where to put a stop. All right, now here's again one of these tricky situations. So the pyramids got you in early. All right, so if you're going to make a pyramid profit, you put your stop there, and this would be your profit between here and here. Now, if you're kind of holding this for a longer term trade, that's where the stop loss placement comes tricky, and you got to put it down here because your point of inflection is here. So you're going to get stopped out if it pulls back at all on a normal pullback. And so there is the problem. Let's see where the possibility of where this is going, though, because that's kind of what I'm more interested in. Is if I want to stay with this trade long term, where is it going? And quite honestly, boy, that's a tough one to tell. All right. So it went up, made a new low, kind of bouncing off here, but there's no way to tell if this is beginning a big trend now or we're just going to continue this bounce. So that's the problem with this, and that's why I wouldn't bother with it. Okay. I would probably let this one go. Now, if you wanted to trade the little swings, the bounces, you got to use the 60-minute chart for your primary. All right, not the daily at this point. So I can't really tell you what's going on, but if you're in it, you want to keep that stop. You got to make a decision, Frank, on whether to keep that stop at or below the inflection point, preferably below it, or take profits depending on when you got in. Okay, if you got in early enough. All right, let's see. VERU. Let's take a look at that one. And this is for Raul. All right, VERU. Okay, so let's see what we got on this one. All right, another one with a lot of messiness here. Okay, can anybody tell me how to trade that? Because I can't. So when I look at something like that, I run. Okay, there's over 10,000 stocks and they keep going up every year. So why get stuck in something like this? Makes no sense. So I would avoid this like the plague at this particular point because I can't tell where this is really going at this point. We don't have any PTFs. Before, if you had asked me back here, at least here you had a PTF high. All right, so and that went higher. And it sold off, but their PTF's not telling me anything now. So, and here, let's see what we got here. Well, we do have a PTF here, but the problem is we're still coming down. So maybe waiting for this thing to turn around. This has got to be green. This has got to be green. You do have this green. So I would wait for this to bottom and make sure this doesn't change to red. And then at least, all right, you're looking at that of being your target, which is decent. But I would not go into it yet until you see the market turn around, okay? And then after that target, I don't know exactly where that's going because it's a messy weekly chart. All right. All right. So GWH. And this one is for Steve. Give that a second to load, Steve, and we'll take a look at it. All right. Not much history on this one. All right. So we only go back to the, a year or so. All right. So what are we doing on this now? Well, we have a green PTF here. So that's kind of indication that this could be a target way up here. The question is, it's still coming down. It hasn't bottomed yet. Or it may have, but right now it looks like it's going to test that low from before. So this is red, this is red. Nothing red here, that's good. You have an active pyramid on the 60 and an active pyramid pointing to the downside that has not been stopped out on the daily. So put it on watch list and wait for some significant bullishness to come back before trying that one. LEV, let's take a look at that one. All right. Okay, so on LEV, according to the 60-minute chart, we're still going down, right? This is red, so this low is not the final low. We're starting to see bullish divergence building inside this big move down. And you probably will get a rebound at some time. But even if it's a bullish rebound, if this stays red, that's all it's going to be, is this and then that is what you're going to get. But that doesn't mean you can't trade the rebound. So let's just say for right now, this thing eventually rebounds. Where would that be? Just grab a couple of fibs, bring them in here, and you're probably looking somewhere around, I would say right around there at this point. Okay, so maybe $9 to $13, and you're at 270. But again, I don't think it's done coming down. I think we may. It has to turn around. We have to have more bullishness here before we get too excited about that. So what I would do is wait for this to turn green, see if this bottom holds. This is red, but we have bullish divergence, so it may hold. And if it starts moving up again and takes this high out, all right, you can go, okay? But right now, you're kind of like catching a falling knife a little bit. Got to be careful. All right, so that is LEV. LEV. Okay, Al, how you doing? FLR. Let's take a look at that one for you. All right, so in this one here, it's moving up and has been moving up for quite some time. All right, really since July. Okay, we've been in this recent trend to the upside with one big pullback. So now the question is, I don't know if you're thinking about going in it or you're in it, but the question is now, where's it going to go? All right. And again, that's a tough one to call. I mean, look at it. Big move up. So that's a tough call at this particular point. So this one really doesn't interest me that much, to be honest with you, simply because it's hard to get a target on that chart. On this chart here, we have a green PTF at the high of today's price bar. So, okay, it's going higher. So I guess if you're in it, stay in it. And you're going to have to be careful about your stop loss placement. If you're not in it yet, I wouldn't bother, okay? That's FLR. All right, Eli Lilly, let's take a look at that, LLY. All right, so these all are really moving up. I mean, look at this. The nice thing about this is, at least when I look at this chart, I know that's an impulsive Elliott wave. There's just no question about that. So, you know, is it a 3 or a 1 long term? Who knows? We'll see. But that's definitely a 3 on this time frame. All right, so after 3, what happens? You get a wave 4, and then you get another wave 5 making new highs, right? So based on that, little late to enter the market, okay? Little late. And again, great example, if you're going to enter in early, you got to keep those stops as low as possible if you're ever going to make it up here. Okay, so that's the hard part of stop loss placement. You know, it's easy to actually find good markets. The question is, if you really want to stay with that market, and for this one to go from here to here, you know, it took 10 years. All right, so, you know, is that your intention, or is it just to trade the little swings inside? Because I can tell you, if you were using a daily chart, you would have never made it here. All right, you would have been stopped out 100 times, going back in and out, in and out. So the thing is now, all right, you know, if you're long here, your stop would be here at this point. You still have a pretty strong here, but I got to tell you, at this point, it's Russian roulette, because it could sell off at any time, because you definitely are getting ready for a wave 4. Let's see if the lower time frames help us. And this is what I'm talking about. See this zigzagging motion? Very hard to trade that unless you keep your stops very conservative, even on the daily chart. So, you know, this hump is higher than this one. So you've got a little bearish divergence building in here. Definitely, it's in an uptrend. There's no question about it. No question about it. The question is it too risky to join the uptrend now? That's the million-dollar question. How much higher is it going to go before wave 3 ends? And maybe we can see if there's any waves inside wave 3 to help us with this. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say we're pretty close to the end of it. Okay, maybe a teeny bit higher, and that's about it, but not much. All right, that's a good one to look at there. All right, General Motors, let's take a look at that, and that's GM. All right, so on General Motors here, kind of also a situation where we've had a sell-off in General Motors. We had a bottom here, market moved off the bottom, and here's your classic pullback. See the double bottom here? All right, so now maybe it's going to start to spring up. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But this really drives home the point that after you get a big move up, if your intentions are to get way up here, then you can't use stops on these initial legs up. Your stops have got to be kept at the bottom until you get the pullback that attempts to take out the bottom. And you just about always get it. You always get some type of pullback that's significant. So this is why stop loss placement, especially when you get in early, if you get in really early, you can afford to put that at the bottom and let it unwind. All right, so what's it going to do now? All right, so in any case, if you're thinking about a long-term trade here, you know, we've got a red PTF here. So it looks like we're going to come down a little bit more. All right, so we'll see if this bottom holds here, and then you have one under there. So I would let it unwind, and according to this, it should come down, and then let's see how far it comes down and take a look at this next week, okay? I would not do anything with this now if you aren't already in it. Okay, so that's GM. All right, Art, how are you? Okay, let's take a look at PRPL. See how this bad boy is doing. All right, so this one has come down a great deal, and definitely a new low, okay? Looks like the other one we looked at. Did we look at this one already? Not sure we did, but it looks exactly like the other one. So, I mean, look at that. So the question now is, are we moving up? Well, according to the daily chart and the 60-minute, the answer is kind of yes. All right, we've got green here, green PTF, green here. Let me just see if that PTF is still green on the 60. No, it turned yellow. Okay, so that's yellow. But this is a kind of a nice bottoming type of market here, right? So if we open this up and think about where just a retracement could be, let's just say we're not even sure the bottom's in it. You know, it's almost at zero. So if it goes down much further, that's not a good sign. But let's just say we get, worst case scenario, a rebound of some degree. All right, we're talking about 15 bucks to 23 bucks. So that's not too bad. Now, let's just take a look at one other thing. All right, so we've broken out of this channel here. I like that. We got one more really key level of resistance or support actually that was formed on the way down. So that also proves to be quite a significant resistance level. We got a pyramid forming in here. We had one down here. Okay. I'm kind of liking this one. All right. If you want to be a little chancy and get in early, you could go in here. I'd put your stop as low as you could afford to do it. Okay. At least here. Don't use here. At least here, preferably here. So that's kind of the deal. Now, if it gets above here, if you're going to be conservative and wait for that, then you can put your stop here. But I'm going to put this one down as one that I think, again, as long as you use risk control, you might be catching this one really early. So PRPL looks pretty good to me for an early catch. And the target would be the fib retracements that I drew in. Now, if it continues up past the retracements and takes off, okay, great. But let's plan on a nice, healthy retracement for now. So I kind of like that one. All right, FLR. FLR, let's take a look at that one. I think, Art, this one's for you as well. All right, so this one's already come off a bottom. All right, came down, came off. Nice move up recently, right? The last couple months. Let's just open up that, let's open up the weekly chart and see if we can't get a little more idea of where this may be going. All right, here's another one. Okay, we've come across a lot of these. Up, new bottom. All right, or new low, almost near zero. So tough to get a really a good read on this. There's not a lot of history on this in terms of clearly seeing what an Elliott wave would be on this. So maybe this was a 3 at one time. All right, and then we now move down here, or 3, 4, 5, and then now a change in trend. So maybe we're getting ready for a change in trend to the upside. That's possible. I just don't know what the target's going to be. That's my problem with this one. I got PTF saying it's going to make more highs, but we're already close to the highs it's saying it's going to make. So I'm not that excited about this one, but I did like the PRPL one, okay, that you had. All right, let's keep going. DT, Ferral, BT. All right, so not a lot of history on this one. Looks like we may have a little bottoming type of configuration here, which I kind of like. All right. And let's see what we got here. You know, as you can tell from my style of trading, I don't really like to chase markets. I really like to get in after they've been basing and then break out, or vice versa, you know, topping and then break down. So there's different kinds of traders. There's traders like me, and then there's traders that like to try to get in on the trend regardless of whether it's mature or not, to try to get that little extra. So you got to decide what kind of trader you are. But before you take the trade, try to figure out where the target is, okay? And then use risk control. And if you're often more often than you're wrong, and your payoff ratio is higher than 1 to 1, you'll make money. All right, so let's see what we got here. Again, not a lot of history, right? Only goes back a couple years. So we're kind of going to use the daily chart. And again, you know, I don't see where really the target zone can be unless you just draw in a fib retracement, because every swing in the market usually has an inflection point rebound. So that's why if you really don't know the target, but you got a big swing, then this becomes your target, because they usually do retrace. And then from there, if it sells off again, it will. But if it's a new trend, then it'll blow right through the retracement. So as long as the retracement gives you enough profit, then you have a possibility of taking the trade to the retracement. So here's the situation. You got a bullish 60-minute chart. We've got a green PTF here forming. My only issue with that is, even if we put the stop here, okay, because here's the bottom here, then you may get stopped out on volatility. But also, too, if you put the stop here and going in here, you do not have a 2 to 1 risk to reward in your favor. So here's your risk, and here's one risk, and two barely gets you in. So that's kind of one that, you know, if you kind of really want to take it, I guess. But the 2-to-1 is not quite there. Okay, unfortunately. All right, so that's DT. All right, let's take a look at Steve's, which is CSGP. Let's see what's cooking on this one. All right, so this one, okay, okay, so interesting on this one here. So this one here has come up quite a bit. This was a high. Let's just open up the weekly chart and get a little better picture. Whenever you're looking at a market, try to get a good, clear picture. You don't want to be looking at this market like that. You want to be looking at it like this. So you kind of see, where did this trend up start? And it was a long time ago, 2012. So that's a 3, all right? And here's the top of 3 right here. So my only thing with this is when I look for clarity, all right, I don't see an ABC in here. So is this A, this B, and then we have C? Well, that's kind of what the PTF is saying, because this is saying this bottom's not in yet. All right, so that is an issue on this one. Let's draw in some fibs, because I think it hit the fib target a while back. Let me just see where I would put this 1, 2. I guess this is the first breakout way here. So it hit the target. So the PTF is saying that we're going back down to the target. So if this was not red, I would say 3, 4, 5. But this being red, not so sure. Okay, A, B, C, and then could go. So that is my only problem with this in terms of that. So if we were in B wave, then it could give way to a C wave. That's the problem. See, even on the daily chart, look at this. After it made a tie here, you'd have to really stretch this. This is not that good of an ABC right there. Possible, all right? But in any case, as long as this is red, I'm not going to take it, all right? Looks like B wave's not over because the 60-minute is bullish, but that's, you know, that's the way I would read that now. Either the PTF on the weekly is going to be wrong, and it's wrong 25% of the time, so it's possible, or we are still in a correction, or maybe even a complex correction for that matter. All right, so that's CSGP. All right, thank you, Steve, for sharing that one. PPC for Al. Let's take a look at that. All right. It was a little roly-poly. I've got, all right, so I've got a red PTF here. I got a red one here and a green one here. So looks to me like this is probably going to go up a little higher, but then should falter and come back down. Let me just take a look, and let's open up the weekly chart. Wow, messy chart. That's a tough one to figure out. Look at that. Again, you know, when I look at a chart and it's just one like this, that's really tough to get a handle on what the Elliott wave is or where we're going with this. If I have to scratch my head more than about 3 times, I pass, okay? So are we in a complex correction? Well, we certainly could have been. We could have had a 3 here, I guess, maybe. I'm not sure if we made a new high here, but that's a tough one, all right? So this is red. So it's indicating that we're probably going to slide down again, and that's all that's saying. So I would probably be weary of a long position, and the daily chart saying the kind of the same thing, so you wouldn't have gone long on any of these pyramids with this being red. This is green, so it looks like one more high, but that should probably be it. So probably no go if you're trying to make a significant trade. Now, there's times when you can trade off the 60-minute chart, but this is, you know, already up here. So if we get a pullback here and this remains green, then this could be 3, 4, and then 5, and then that would end this rebound to the upside. Okay. So maybe a little bit more room to the upside, but not much. Not enough for, I think, a significant amount of profit on a daily chart. So let's see. Okay, I bet. How are you, TNC? Take a look at old TNC here. All right, so first thing I'll do is open up the weekly and see if I can get a clear picture. Well, you guys are picking some good ones today. Look at that. All right, so we've got a red PTF here. So this is not a bottom, according to this indicator here. And this has a 75% accuracy rate. So it's pretty high. I listened to it. So that's kind of where we're at now. All right, so let's take a look at the lower time frames. And we've got a green one here. So what's that saying? Okay, it's saying that we should go up above here. So probably a little higher to the inflection point, and then probably a sell-off. So when you have a green PTF in the lower time frame, and you have a red one here on the higher time frame, if the target, this one's going to happen, the daily move is going to happen before the weekly move. So we're going to have more bullishness short term than long term. So this should get up to this area here, which is right around 72, and we're sitting at 64. All right, so you've got a possibility of a long trade here, and there's no red here. So you could go long with this as your target. You'd have to put your stop here for the risk to reward. So that's possible, okay? But once you reach that target, if this turns yellow and goes to neutral on the next high above the target high, you got to get out because this is red, okay? So, you know, I like it for a short-term trade, but you are going against a long-term PTF. So you're going to have to be pretty nimble on how to do this. So I'm going to put this one down as a possible because I think you got the risk to reward on this one, and you've had a major pullback off the bottom already. So I don't think you need to use the bottom for your stop. So I think you could probably peg it in there. And that would give you a 2-to-1 risk to reward. So I'll put TNC down. It's not the best one for today, but it is one I think you could make money short term on, even though you're going against the longer term chart. So that is TNC. Let's take a look at CLNE. Sometimes I do trade against a bearish long-term chart, only if I have a short-term profit that makes sense. Okay, so let's take a look at this bad boy here. All right, another doozy, right? Okay, so very interesting. So we got a PTF high sitting up here. So this is basically saying after this move down, the PTF does not tell you when it's going to happen, nor does it tell you how long, you know, when you get a pullback, it doesn't tell you what level it's going to pull back to. All it's saying is that there was enough momentum, enough energy to create a probability index that the market will return and take out that high. So based on that information here, that's what we're saying. So we're at 650 roughly in price right now. We've got a nice pull down. We've got kind of this bottoming situation going on. So, interesting. Definitely great profit potential here if this thing starts to move up. Now, from a weekly chart, you know, we got to start taking out some of these support levels like here and here, okay? We've got a little bounce off here, but we didn't take that one out. Then that one pulled back. It didn't take this one out. So we kind of have to see some follow through, or else this could go into a channel, right? You don't want to get stuck in a channel. So you got to kind of be a little bit weary about that. All right, so now if we take a look here on the daily chart, you can see this sideways channel, all right, that we're kind of in. And that's what the yellow colored pyramids are doing here. They're kind of telling you, if you can see that at home, they're telling you we are going sideways. Let me just make those blue, all right? If they're blue, you can see them a lot easier. So let's just do that right now. The pyramids, change them from yellow to blue, and then you can see the pyramids more clearly. See, they're kind of, these are unconfirmed channeling identification pyramids right here. All right, so on this here, not a lot of follow through, got red here. So I think what I would do on this one, I would put this one on a watch list. I actually like this one because the PTF has such a high target, but it's not time to go in it yet. I need a break. I would like this pyramid here. I would like this one to turn green, and then I'll put my stop down here. So it needs to get above $8, or else the problem is, or else it could go into a sideways channel for a while. All right, and then your money's stuck. All right, so that's CLNE. Okay, so that one was for a bet. Okay, so let's take a look here. All right, YMM. YMM. Okay, give that a second to load. Let me just slide these down. Okay, so not a lot of history in this one. All right, so really kind of difficult to tell what the Elliott wave is without the history. I can certainly tell you on the 60-minute chart a couple things. One is it's bullish, okay? Two is low liquidity. Okay, look at the price structure of these. Okay, you have a lot of gaps, all right, and a lot of type of large movements that fills would create, decent sized fills would create on low liquidity. So that's kind of a little bit of a low liquidity type of market, and this is red, so no long position, okay? So could it go into a retracement? It could, okay, and it certainly has got more highs coming. So let's just see that, let's go 1, 2, let's see, run it down from here to here, but you're so close to the target, okay? So I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do anything with that now, okay? All right, MLCO. MLCO. Okay, so let's open the weekly chart up and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, good amount of history, like that. All right, so now on this one here, you would have thought this was a 3, but then this happened, so it's not a 3, okay? It could be working its way into a 2, so maybe a 1, 2 getting ready to go. All right, that's possible. All right, so let's see where we are here. Again, same thing as the other one. Unfortunately, Al, we're moving up, but until this changes, and it could change to green, okay? It's close to doing that, but I can't go long on that until it changes or recommend it for a long trade. So at this point here, let's draw some fib retracements in here. Okay, high, high. I'm going to start it here and here. Okay, so again, there's your target. And, when I do risk control, I always assume the first line, is a good line to use. If you want to use this one, you could. Just be consistent on how you do it. But if you put your stop here or even down here, you can see the risk to reward is not quite there, okay? Especially if you're going to use the first blue line, okay, unfortunately. All right, Paul, UMC. Let's take a look at that one. All right, UMC. This is looking a little interesting here. Okay, so a couple things here. Let's take a look. All right, nice move off the bottom. You see, when you have a consolidating market, when it breaks that consolidation, you get big trends. And the longer the consolidation, the bigger the trend. So basically, trending markets happen, 35% of the time, I think, that are the stats on that. So you're going to look at a lot of markets that aren't trending. And it doesn't mean necessarily you shove them off to the side and forget them. Doesn't mean you trade them. But you might want to put those on a watch list. So if they break out, you can take it. All right, what I want to see here is a couple things. I want to make sure if I go down here, so this is a bottom, I think that one held. Let's draw this up from here to here. Okay, so we hit the target zone. We did not go into a wave 1 high. So we're good there. So this looks like probably a 3 and a 4. All right, let me just see if this high here, that actually, yes, this is the high. So we may have an A, B, C. This one's a little easier to see, A, B, C, so there's clarity. So we could be now moving into wave 5, and there'll be 5 waves inside that. So we've had the bounce off the bottom with no major retracement. So you got to be careful here, okay? You got to put your stop at the bottom, if you're going to trade this, because that's the problem. All right. Are you going to get a double bottom? Is it going to be only a 38% retracement? We don't know yet. Okay. And we don't know. So that's one of the wild cards. We just don't have that kind of crystal ball. So let's just see if the lower time frames help us here. All right. So we got very bullishness here on this. So they see this would have been the ideal entry here off this pyramid. Then we could put the stop at the bottom and forget about it. All right. But we have to take into account that we may get a more significant pullback. This is red. So here's how I would play this. I would not go in now. I like UMC. Let's look at it next week, please. Okay, I like it. But with the PTF red here, it's still showing correction. So we'll probably come down maybe, let's just grab a fib retracement on this one and see how far down it can come down here. Let's say right about here to here, I think is where. So a little bit further down, let me erase that. So I'm thinking maybe almost hit the target here. I'm thinking back into the target zone, according to this, the PTF. So this is green. So we're probably going to get a pullback and then another surge forward. When this is in the target zone and this turns yellow and we have green here, pull the trigger for a long trade. Okay. So let's look at that next week. Just looks like it's going to pull back a little bit. I like that one though, UMC. All right, let me see. Did I miss anybody? You guys did good today. Awesome. All right, so let's just take a look at some I like here. All right, I started out with gold. Okay, so this is kind of a recap on what I think is good. So gold, I'm liking a lot here now. All right, I waited and waited for things to loosen up and get right. So in other words, we had this red PTF. All right, so I couldn't go long here, but then it sold off again, turned the PTF yellow, and now it rebounded. So this was now a long trade. I have green and green over here. So that qualifies for a long trade. And of course, run this by your financial advisor because I don't know your personal situation, that kind of stuff. All right, so on this here, we got a 3, looks like a 4, and we're going into a 5. So I think gold is in wave 5 on the weekly chart. So I'm liking that, okay? I'm definitely liking that. So it looks pretty good. Okay, the other one, ROKU, was my favorite. I think, Al, did you give me this one? I forgot who gave us this one, but this one looked good too. This is basically a bottom fisher, but a bottom fisher that looks pretty good. So you want to put your stop down here, okay? All right, green, no red, green. All right, red, but that's always going to be red when you're getting in early on a bottom, and we use the daily charts to get in early. All right, so you know, even if we get a retracement off this, it's a huge win. And this is close to going green. Now, what's possible, all right, and this is why we always use stops, is maybe this will go up a little bit, turn around and make one more low and then go. That's possible. So when you're getting in early, if you get stopped out, wait for the next low and try again. But you have bullish divergence. There's no reason not to take this trade right now in terms of trying to get in early. Okay, so I'm liking it. Just do your trade size and your risk to reward. Okay, OKTA was another one. So gold and ROKU I like the best so far. All right, this one was also another one, okay, that we like. The lower time frames, we got green, 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 and green. And again, this hasn't turned around yet, but that's what happens when you go in early. So I'm liking this because this looks pretty good, and we've had a real nice move down and a nice bounce off the bottom. Okay, and so there we are. Put your stop as low as you can on this. All right. So let's see. PRPL was the other one that was okay. Again, coming off a bottom. Okay, so that was looking pretty good too. And then T and C finally. Okay, so these are the ones. So 5, that's pretty good. We found 5. All right, not too shabby. All right. So this one was not so exciting here, but short term we should get here. Okay, so this is the one I like the least because it's kind of a messy chart on the weekly. It's not a clear. So this is basically what we call a scalp trade based off the PTF indicator. So, you know, that's our target. And then you got to put your stop as low as you can, but it looks like it's going to be right about here because you won't have the risk to reward if you set it anywhere. So I like this one the least, but it is one that we could take. All right, so MJ, one more. We'll do one more for Art here. Oh, all right, not bad. Oh, I'm liking this one too. All right, let's see what we got here. Not much history, but certainly here's a big thing, okay? Bullish divergence, okay? Almost green. I'm glad you showed us this one. Let's see what we got here. The lower time frames are saying it's a go. I have to add MJ now to the list. Now, here's the tricky part. We did make a new low here. All right, so that's not your big pullback. So we may be due for some type of pullback at some point, which is a little tricky, okay? So what I would do maybe, you know, you could always, if you get in late on some of these, you can always use options, right? Because if you, let's say your risk is 2%, and let's say, I don't know, you have a $50,000 trading account. So if you have a 2% risk, you don't want to lose more than $1,000, right? So just buy $1,000 worth of a call. Make sure the delta is high so you get as much bang out of it as you can per price movement of the underlying. But therefore, your risk control is taken care of, even if you get in late, and you don't have to worry about putting your stops way at the bottom. So that's just an idea. Okay, so here is, we're going higher. This is looking good. But you see, my only concern with this, if this is a 3 and this is a 4, if this does not create a new wave 3, this doesn't move over, then that means it's a 5. And then that means wave 1 is done, or whatever trending wave this is, could be an A or 1. That means you got 2. And 2 is the nasty wave. So that's where you got to be careful. All right, so you could also wait until the pullback to get in. But I like it, okay? I do like it. All right, so I think it's one if you want to go in with an option, it might make sense. And your risk, your reward could be huge on this, especially if this begins a new trend. But again, even if it doesn't, figure out the worst case scenario. Draw your fibs in, and let's just say it's a regular fib retracement. We're still going up to 12. That's 100% return on your money. Okay, so that's not too shabby. And you got good risk to reward. Even if you were forced to put your stop here, look at the risk to reward. See? 1, 2 distances of your risk. So I like it. Okay, I like it. That's one that goes on the list. All right, so good, really good turnout on that. All right, let's for fun, just go over and see what that MES contract is doing. So we run a day trading room, right? So on the day trading room, we trade very short time frames. So what I've just done is change my charts to the MES time frame. So here is the MES contract, and this is the 1222. Well, there it is right there. 1222. You got the 1 minute and the S15 second, believe it or not. And then you got the 5 minute over here. So that's kind of the way we look at it. So look at this big move down in the morning. So that screwed up a lot of traders, I'm sure. So if you showed up now, all right, this is red on the 5 minute. This is green. So you've kind of got a situation where you've got not so much clarity here. So basically what this is saying is short term, we're going to go up a little higher. What this is saying is once that's done, we're coming down. And you can see the trend is already. So I don't like any trades right now in the MES. I would just pass on this. All right. And I wouldn't be surprised if all the equities look the same. See, this is the MNQ. All right. M2K, it had a nice move off the bottom on the M2K. You did have that, okay, but now it's too extended. All right, gold. Gold is kind of an interesting beast. I've got the 223 contract up right now, but the thing is gold has a lot less liquidity than the financial indexes. So whenever you set a stop on gold, you got to give it about 5 ticks. That's what I've found out. So on this case here, again, nice move up, but now it's extended, okay? This we'll have to see if it stays red or green. So this is one where we'd have to wait for a pullback if we didn't catch it early enough. You know, a lot of times when you show up at any time during the day-to-day trade, a lot of times your setup won't be there and you have to wait for it, okay? And that certainly is the case today. All right, this is crude oil, a little bit better liquidity on crude oil than on the gold contract, but that's a messy market, okay? Maybe a PTF trade at some point, but, you know, 15-second, that's not my primary time frame. So I don't really see anything too hot there, okay? So that's kind of the deal on that. So if you were day trading, we would be in a hold pattern right now, waiting for a setup. Okay, that's kind of the way we would do it. All right. Well, I think you know, we're going on the hour time, so I guess we've covered a lot of good stocks. We've got a lot of good winners today. I went over those, so not too bad. You know, 1, 2, 3, 6 possibilities today. That's pretty good. So I want to thank everybody for a good turnout, because we wouldn't have 6 if we didn't have this many people here. So great. All right. So hopefully that helped, okay, and gave you some ideas for the upcoming trading week. And we'll see you next Friday, okay? So thanks so much. And I'll put a little music on, and maybe I'll put the MES on for a couple minutes on a very short time frame so we can watch the price bars tick away on a 1-minute time frame and see. All right, so take care, everybody, and great job. Okay, thank you.